Welcome back, everybody. I hope that the week has started off well for you and that you are finding a way to stay safe in the midst of some of the seasonal uncertainty, the ice rain that probably has affected some of us, but hopefully not too many. I am happy to speak a little bit more on what I referenced on Sunday. As you might recall, we spoke of Deborah, the prophetess, the leader, and to put it into some modern parlance, the president of at least her region. Deborah is known and spoken of, but what I tried to identify were ways in which not only Deborah, but others have been diminished in our history. And her diminishment is our loss, hence the effort to resuscitate and recover some of the wonderful gifts that many women leaders left behind. And there are clues throughout the biblical text, and in the coming weeks, months, and years, I hope to recover and identify areas that might give us hope. It's a sort of retrieval effort on our part, right? It's to find the gold, the diamond, the precious material that is sometimes couched in secretive ways in the text. And of course, I'm dependent on scholars that specialize in these languages and with the literary composition of the text in itself. To that end, one of them, Wilda Gafney, is a Hebrew Bible scholar. And so beginning in Advent, we are adopting Wilda Gafney's Women's Lectionary for the Whole Church. And so we're going to journey with Professor Gafney as she tries to foreground the experience of women like Elizabeth that we don't typically say much about. So I hope that changes, and I hope you'll see that tone difference, that change implemented liturgically and otherwise. I know it's going to be carried out in our Sunday school programming, and so we're excited to be shifting in a way that truly is more inclusive and does justice to all the persons that contributed to some of the values and the wisdom that has been passed down to us. There is another text that was given to me and that helped me prepare for my reflection on Deborah, and it is entitled In the Wake of the Goddesses. And it looks at some of the older goddess traditions that influenced, even though they don't get credit, because in that time they didn't cite their material as well as we do now. It wasn't as important to them. But she, the particular scholar that wrote that text, who was given to me, she is attempting to uncover these older streams of thought and practice that went into the making of the Bible. We know that what we call the Bible is composed of a lot of lines of thought. And you could say we're on a bit of a scavenger hunt to find those less mentioned and oft forgotten persons and experiences. I think it also speaks to our commitment as an affirming community to truly practice extravagant welcome, radical hospitality, because we do that not just in our generosity to one another as images of God, but we do it when we read text. I hope that in the coming weeks, the months, the year, that my speaking on these issues on Sundays and perhaps during the postscript and at other times, I hope that it sensitizes us and it attunes us so that we can pay closer attention to certain figures in the text that we might otherwise pass by because they're not celebrated in our songs and in our prayers and in many of the traditions that have been passed down in recent times. It doesn't mean that we're going to disparage some of the gifts of our tradition, but we are going to highlight the blind spots, if you will, if not the outright attempts to write out these significant women leaders. Now we know that happened with Deborah, and it happened with others as well. So we hope to right that wrong, as we do many, And in doing so, I also believe that we are going to finally act on our desire to live in right relation. Because living in right relation is something that we seek to do, many of us as settlers here in Southwest Ontario, but also as persons that come to this biblical text almost as foreigners, because we weren't there 3,000 years ago in this region. And so we have to be humbled by the fact that we don't notice everything, but also sensitized to the fact that there are voices and experiences that are often suppressed. And so it is our moral, ethical, spiritual responsibility and invitation to help those voices come to light and be heard, some for the first time. So I hope that you will go with me on that journey. I invite you along. Any comments are always welcomed. They don't have to be put here, but I would encourage you to do so, either on Facebook directly, or you can send me an email. You can also come up to me on Sundays or throughout the week. So I'm excited to be on this journey with you, and I hope that you will stay tuned and invest yourself as much as we all are. Thanks for being here this week. Look forward to seeing you next week for the next postscript.